Hi, pupils. This time for science. I'd like to take this juncture to welcome you all to our science lesson. It is a continuation of animals. We are still under adaptation of animals. Pupils, welcome. The first one is Omnivores. Candidates, Omnivores. These are animals that feed on both flesh and vegetation. Some of the omnivores are human beings, baboons, gorillas, chimpanzees, monkeys, pigs, apes, and bears. Candidates, omnivores, these are animals that feed on meat and vegetation. Omnivores have 4 sets of teeth. Incisors. The incisors are used for biting food. Canines. Canines are used for tearing flesh. Premolars. Premolars are used for chewing and grinding food. Molars. The molars are used for chewing and grinding food. For instance, candidates, monkeys and gorillas have long tail which are adapted for holding on trees branches when jumping from one tree to another. Therefore, these tails are important for balance and stability during movement. The long limbs are adapted for climbing. They have fingers for gripping and grasping objects. Candidates, now we move to adaptation of beaks of birds to feeding. Different birds adapt to their feeding habits. This can be observed on the beak and feet modification of the bird. Candidates, based on adaptation of birds, beak to feeding, the following groups of birds exist. 1. Grain eaters. Grain eaters. 2. Filter feeders. 3. Flesh eaters. 4. We have nectar feeders. Candidates, now we start with number 1, grain eating birds. Birds which feed on grains are called grain eaters. Grain eaters have a short, conical, strong, and straight beak. Candidates, have a look on a picture of grain eaters on the screen. If you look at that bird, the beak is short, conical, and straight beak. On the other side, that is its feet. So for you to differentiate that bird from other birds, you must check its beak, and you see that it has a short, it is short, conical, and strong beak. Candidates. Examples of grain eaters are chicken, doves, bichons, weaver birds, and the guinea fowl. Grain eaters, we have chicken. Their claws are adapted to scratching the ground. If you look on that leg, the way it looks like, the claws are adapted for scratching the ground when it is looking for food. Number 2, we move to filter. Strong, serrated. Also, filter feeders have serrated beaks to enable them to filter food from mud. Pupils. If you look on the picture as on the screen, the first one you can be able to see the duck. If you look at it, the beak which is used as this mouth, it has serrated beak of a duck. Then on the other side, we have the webbed feet. When we talk about the webbed feet, they are meant purposely. There is no division in between. They have webbed feet for swimming in water. Candidates. Omnivores. These are animals that feed on both flesh and vegetation. Some of the omnivores are human beings, baboons, gorillas, chimpanzees, monkeys, pigs, apes, and bears. Candidates. Omnivores, these are animals that feed on meat and vegetation. Omnivores have 4 sets of teeth. Why? This is to enable them to suck nectar from flowers. If you look at the picture on the screen of that bird, that beak is very, very long. Since it is long enough, when it comes across a flower, it becomes very easy for this bird to suck nectar from the flower. If we look on the other side, it is balanced on the air and it is really enjoying the sucking of nectar from the flower. Nectar feeders, if you look on the back then to the first picture, at the extreme end, that peak, it is somehow curved. They are light birds and they therefore can beach on leaves or small branches, having flowers when feeding on nectar. Their feet are highly adapted for beaching. They can also use their wings to freely balance in air near flowers while sucking nectar from the flower. That's on the second picture. Candidates, that is, we come to the end of our today's science lesson. I urge you to go through again. You listen how different birds and animals adapt when it comes to environmental. I wish you a nice day until when we are going to meet for another science lesson, whereby our next lesson is going to be about adaptations of animals to movement. I wish you nice moms, inshallah.